All right, guys, so today's video, one of my favorite ones we did last year on the driver, and really how you need to create width, create a big circle, both on the way back and on the way down. And that's how you can maximize how far you hit the ball without having to feel like you're swinging any harder. And this works really for any swing type, any age, regardless of where you're at. If you want more distance off the tee without feeling like you have to do more, give this one a watch. I hope it helps you. All right, so I've been waiting probably literally 10 years to find a right wrist training aid that I would fall in love with. I have this precision impact training aid that I have been testing now for the past couple of months to make sure I like it. This right wrist training aid, I'm telling you, I've tried them all, is unbelievable. You put this on your right wrist and you'll notice when I make a backswing, it gives me some auditory feedback and I can set my right wrist about as far back as I can, and it locks that angle in. And it enables you to create the right wrist bend during the backswing, and also because of this little ball here, I can go up and down when I do it. It's absolutely freaking brilliant, and I've been using this a lot. It's gonna help your impact a ton. You go down below, you click the little link down there for Precision Pro, and you grab one of these. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. There's a little coupon code in there, you get 20 bucks off. Keeping the right wrist bent back, okay, is the key. Hey guys, Eric here out at the Bethlehem Golf Club. In today's video, we're gonna talk about effortless power, how to hit your driver farther. Now, we're gonna put a visual up of the screen. You can see Bryce and what a good example he is for this. And really what I want you to pay attention to, and we're gonna talk about today, are two moves, but the first one has to do with the arc that the club head travels on. And really what I mean by that is the width. So you can see in this visual how far away from himself Bryson gets the driver at about halfway back. And we'll talk through details of how that happens. And then as a byproduct of that, how that club head gets closer to him in transition. And then you can see the width again in the follow through. So players who hit the ball the farthest create the most speed with the least amount of effort. They get the club head as far away from them as possible on both sides of the swing. Now the key to this, and the only way you can do it well on both sides, if you do it correctly in the beginning, so you get the takeaway part correct, right? The old saying, you can't birdie them all unless you birdie the first one. You can't have width on both sides unless you have width early, and there's a specific way that I want you to do this. And you'll notice with Bryson on here, he's able to get the club head as far away from him as possible without his head or his hip moving excessively away from the target. So if you take your setup position, a really nice way to do this would be to have your head against like the door or an object here. I want you to be able to get that club head maximum stretched away without this left hip or your head traveling excessively to the right. I don't mind an inch, maybe two, but I'd like you to do it with minimal lateral motion. Now, as I'm doing this, notice a couple things. Number one, my lead shoulder, and a lot of this motion is controlled by this lead shoulder. While my head can't go too far to the right, I need my left shoulder, if I drew a circle on it at setup, to travel quite a bit away from the target to enable me to get this width. If I don't have my left shoulder move, I can't get nearly as far away as if I do. The second part is going to be the width of the trail arm and wrist. If you look at Bryson, or I'm telling you, a lot of these all-time great drivers, just players who hit it the farthest, super wide halfway back. That means the trail arm hasn't bent much and the trail wrist hasn't bent much. And what I'd like you to start with is just doing rehearsals with these. Imagine your left hip or head are on a wall, or literally put them on a wall, and get maximum width. And that should feel good. That should feel powerful, like I can create some power from there. Let's just hit one with that first. Head and hip stay there. Club head as far away from me as possible. And what's gonna happen when we show you that downswing visual of the club head getting much closer to him? Now that's not something I want you to consciously do so much. This is where the effortless part comes in. You got to put a little bit of effort into getting it started correctly, but your body from there to hit it should create that narrowing by itself. That narrowing is happening from his right arm folding, from his wrist hinging, and from his body planting and turning. So head and hip stay there, max width early on. Your wrist shouldn't feel hinged. Your arm shouldn't feel bent here. Left hip and head stay there. Right arm and wrist as far away as possible. That's the key. So that you get the reaction piece in transition. I've said this in videos before. When I do this really well, I get a feeling or a sensation of letting go of the club, a very light in transition, of a whip effect at the bottom. I'm letting the club go back, and then I'm getting all that for free coming down. This is part one of creating that circle. Left hip and head stay on the line. Right arm and wrist very wide to here. Let's create a lot of width early. Now notice as I'm doing that, my body's turning. My chest and hips are definitely the piece that's turning that club back to that point, driven by my body. Head and hips stay there, maximum width on the way back. And if you haven't done that before, I'm telling you, you're gonna feel some speed in transition like you've never felt without feeling more effort. Like I don't feel like I'm swinging the club any harder there, but I feel like there's a lot of speed going on. And that's coming from that circle going from wide to narrow. Let's go ahead and do one more. Obviously the setup positions I'd like for you to get correct. Feet a little bit wider than normal, ball forward. I've got my head behind the ball, but keep my hip and head there. Create this width. Right arm wide, right wrist wide. My body is the piece that's creating that motion. And then that narrowing, that happens for free. You have to be almost willing to let go of the club in transition to be able to get that piece. Now, one other little add-on piece I want to put here. Ball's tee a little high, we'll see if we can handle that. I would suggest for you, most of us doing this, as I have this width, my left shoulder is turning back to create that. I do like to see a little bit of the left heel raising. That helps get a little bit of the pressure into the trail foot, but it also helps you create a trigger for your downswing. So what I'm feeling is my body's getting the club wide, my shoulder's transporting that. As my heel lifts up on the way back, now I'm gonna keep turning during my backswing from here and get my hands up and back, but my initial motion then is I'm replanting my left leg, and then I'm letting that club go. So just letting that heel lift up a little bit can be a really, really nice trigger move. Hip and head stay there. I'm not going with it. Right arm and wrist wide. Let that heel lift a little bit so you can feel yourself come on your left toe a little bit and then replant as you come down. Hip and head there, big width. Good turn, let that left heel come up. And these are feels, I mean, that's as good as I can hit it. These are feels that I've been using probably for the past year or two with my driver, and I've seen significant improvements out on the course. I'm hitting the ball places on the course that I haven't seen before, and it's all from getting this initial motion correct to be able to get that planting, that narrowing in transition. So have in your mind that visual image of Bryson having that big circle and wide down, and watch on TV, watch the pros create that circle. It all happens from that initial motion. Hip and head stay pretty close to where they are. Left shoulder has to go back. Body's got to work with it. Allow that heel to come up a little bit. Replant as you start down. Let that club sling from there. You're going to create a lot more speed. Give up some control to get control. If you like this video, we'll put a card for a similar style video on the screen. We'll also put cogornogolf.com. Would love to work with you there.